All right, thank you. So because the currency I'm converting and the exchange rate are in the same measurement, I won't be able to multiply them. If you multiply naira by naira, you get naira square. You understand? So I have to arrange it in such a way that the naira will cancel each other. So in that case, I'm going to divide. So when the exchange rate when the currency are the same, what you are converting and the exchange rate are in the same currency. So for you to convert, you divide. But if they're in different currency, you multiply. Do you understand?
Well,
let me give you an example. Don't worry. Let me illustrate for you here.
Okay, better.
Let me give you an example. Assuming I have 2,000 naira. Okay, let me say 200,000 naira. This is the amount I want to convert. Okay, I want to convert 200,000 naira to US dollar. And the exchange rate is given as, what's the dollar rate now? Let us assume it is 530 naira for $1 US. Now look at the exchange rate. It's stated in naira, right? And what do I want to convert? I want to convert naira. I won't say 200,000 naira. I won't say 200,000 naira times 520 or 530. If you do this, you are multiplying the same currency. You are multiplying naira by naira. So your conversion will be wrong. Do you understand? Because what I'm converting and the exchange rate given are in the same currency. If I want to convert this currency now, what I will do is that I will divide the 200,000 naira by 530 naira. Do you understand? Hello?
Yes, sir.
But if it is, let me say now that I have $2,000 and I want to convert it to naira, and the exchange rate is 530 naira. So what will I do? Because what I want to convert now and the exchange rate are in different currencies, I will multiply. So I will simply say 530 naira by what? By 2,000. So it's a very simple logic. You just have to know that when you are dealing with the same currency, you divide. When you are dealing with different currency, you multiply. That is simple logic.
Okay, sir.
Okay, good. Shall we continue now?
Yes, sir.
Now, today I want us to start business valuation. Business valuation. That should be page what?
Sir, I don't know if you want to talk about the
Oh, okay, thank you.
last question.
I've almost forgotten. Yeah, let me speak on that before we go to business valuation. What page is business valuation? Do you have the note with you? Now look at what we did on Friday. Let's go to where we have that licensing fee. That is in the Magodo Republic, right? This is our NPV in Magodo Republic. Look at it. This is our NPV table, and this is our eventual NPV. And we concluded that this project should be undertaken in Magodo Republic because the NPV is positive. Now, when we came to Nigeria, when we repatriated this net cash flow to Nigeria, there was a slight mistake that we made there. Look at it. This license fee, this one here, what we have there in Nigeria is still in Magodo Republic dollar. We just pick it from here, and we now took it what? Net, this one here. So that is wrong. That's wrong. Because we are bringing this amount to Nigeria, what do we need to do? We're supposed to convert it to Naira first, using the prevailing exchange rate for each year of the cash flow. After the conversion to Naira, then we now take it net of tax. Do you understand? So that it therefore means that this 1,200 Naira should be divided by year one exchange rate. What's year one exchange rate? Year one exchange rate is 16. You can see. So 1,200 times divided by 16 times the net tax rate in Nigeria. That is, I would say 1 minus tax rate. I think the tax rate in Nigeria is 30%. So it will be 1,200 over 16 times 0.7. The same thing we are going to do to the year two here, the one we have in year two, which is what? 1,298. You do the same thing. You do the same thing to this. You do the same thing to this. So that was the treatment that we're supposed to accord to it. I believe that is clear, right? We are converting. You need to convert it because all this one now, they are in dollar. They are in dollar. So you won't be mixing dollar with Naira. It's not possible. So if you have dollar, maybe you have $1,000 and you have 5,000 Naira. If I ask you how much do you have, you won't tell me you have $6,000. Neither will you tell me you have 6,000 Naira. So for you to know the amount you have, it's either you convert your dollar to Naira or you convert your Naira to dollar. Do you understand? And that is exactly what we are doing here. Are we fine with that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, business valuation. And like I always tell you, when we started this course, that business valuation is one of the key topics in the course. And of course, anytime business valuation question is going to be set, it's going to be question number one. And you know what that means? It means you cannot afford not to know business valuation, because anytime it will come out, it's going to be question number one. So for the current syllabus, it means if you see business valuation in your exam, it's going to be 30 marks. That is the implication. So we're going to see the approach is very simple, very simple. You just have to understand the principle and then apply it, and you'll be good to go. Now, what do you mean by business valuation? Business valuation is simply means obtaining the market value of a company's share or the total market value of a company as a whole. I repeat, business valuation is method of estimating the market value of company as a whole or the market value of a company's equity. That is what we call business valuation. If I have a company and I want to know the worth of my company, what will I do? I will value the business. I will value my company. So the process of getting the market value of my company is that business valuation that I will do. What about if I want to get just the market value of my company's equity, not the total market value this time around? What I just need is the market value of my company's equity. So in that case, it means I'm removing the market value of debt, because the total value of your company will comprise market value of equity and market value of debt. So if you are valuing only equity, it means you are excluding debt from your valuation. This is in brief what we mean by business valuation. Now, how do we value a business? Or let me even say, why do I need to value a business? we have two types of businesses. One, a quoted company and an unquoted company. When we say a company is quoted, it means the shares of the company is listed on the stock market. Okay, the shares of the company are listed on the stock market. So that's a quoted company. So if I want to obtain the market value of shares of a quoted company, what will I do? I will simply need to go to the stock market, log into the website, search for the company whose share I want to obtain the value. Then I will just read through the financial statement of the company. I will see the share price. Okay. Why for an unquoted company, the shares are not traded on the stock market. Therefore, if I want to get the market value of the company's share, I will need to carry out business valuation. Now, what will make me to value a quoted company? A quoted company already has its shares listed on the market. So why do I need to value that company? I will need to value a quoted company, number one, when the company is to merge with another company. Okay? A quoted company wants to merge with another company. For the two companies to merge, we must know their separate value. Their value will be different from the normal market valuation you have on the stock market, because the one you have on the stock market might not reflect some information like your goodwill, like your intangible asset, and so on and so forth. So that is the reason why you might need to value a quoted company. You may also need to value a quoted company where the company is to be taken over. One company wants to buy over the company. The company that wants to buy the other company, we have to carry out business valuation of the company it wants to buy. So whether quoted or unquoted, you need business valuation wherever a company is to be bought out or bought over. For an unquoted company, at all times, whenever you want the market value, whether they are merging or they are doing whatever, you need business valuation. Okay, that's not where we are going. That's just a brief of business valuation. Now, how do we value a business? How do we value a business? What are the various models available for business valuation? Now, the first model you can use to value a business is the asset. Okay, the asset-based models, or asset-based approach, or asset-based valuation models, whichever one you call it, is the asset-based approach. And what does asset-based approach mean? The asset-based approach to business valuation is where you are using the asset of the company as the basis of determining the worth of the company. You are computing the market value of the company based on the company's assets. And where do you get the asset of the company? From the statement of financial position. Therefore, you can refer to asset-based valuation model as statement of financial position approach. Okay, especially when you are dealing with net book value of assets. Okay, now that is asset-based valuation model. You are using the asset of the company to determine the market value of that company. You say you are carrying out your business valuation using asset-based approach. Now, the value of your assets from your accounting equation, asset is equal to what? Capital plus liability. I believe you can still remember that accounting equation. Asset is equal to capital plus liability. So your capital is owner's contribution. Simply put, your capital represents your equity, for instance, and your liability represents your borrowed fund. So equity plus liability gave you your total capital. So your total capital must be equal to your total asset. So if I value a company using total asset, the market value that will come out is the market value of both equity and debt. And the market value of equity and debt is referred to as corporate value. Okay? Market value of equity plus market value of debt is referred to as corporate value. Now, if I want to use the asset-based approach, I can use several bases as well, because my asset will have different values. Okay? The asset of a company will have different values. You can have book value, you can have market value or realizable value, you can have break-up value, you can have replacement cost. All these are value of a company's asset, but different what? At a different level. Now, if you want to base your market valuation on net book value, what does that mean? A question asks you to compute market value of the company using the net book value of assets. So, what is net book value? Net book value is the carrying amount of the asset. And how do you compute your carrying amount? Carrying amount is the cost of the asset less accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairments. That is the carrying amount. So when you base the computation of your market value on the carrying amount of the asset, we say you are using the net book value of assets as the basis of valuation. Sorry, my voice is not too clear today because of the weekend lecture. I actually overstressed myself during the weekend, so it's affecting my voice. So sorry if you cannot hear me clearly as it used to be. Now, where do you get net book value of assets? That is, where do you get your carrying amount? Your carrying amount of assets is stated in the statement of financial position. Do you understand? So if you're going to say compute market value based on carrying amount or net book value, just go to the statement of financial position, add all the assets together. That is the market value of the company. But if I want to get the market value of the company share, what will I do? After adding all the value of the assets, I will add all the what? Liability. I will remove the liability from the asset. The balance is value of equity. Let me repeat. If I want to get the total market value of a company using net book value, I will go to my statement of financial position, add all the value, add all the assets together. When I add all the assets together, I get the total market value of the company, which we call the corporate value. But if I want to get the market value of the company's share, out of the corporate value, I need to remove market value of debt. So I will go and add up all the debt, both current and non-current liabilities in the statement of financial position. I will add them together. I will net it off from the total asset. The balance is the market value of equity. Good. Now, you can see, if I want to get market value per share, what will I do? Current market price is net book value of assets, net book value over what number of shares. That is where after, okay, you better put it as net book value minus what? Net book value of asset minus total liability. Okay, So when you divide it by number of shares, you get your market price per share. Now, number 2, net realizable value of asset. Net realizable value is also known as the market value of asset. That is when we are valuing the asset of the company based on the amount that will be realized if the asset is to be sold in the open market. If this my phone is having a carrying amount of 50,000 naira and I can sell it at 60,000 naira in the market, the carrying amount is 50,000. But if I want to sell it in the open market, I can sell it for 60,000. So I can base my market valuation on the what? On the sales value, realizable value of that asset. So when you base your market valuation on the amount that will be realized if the asset of the company is to be sold, we say you are using the net realizable value of assets or the market value of the asset. Okay. Now, each of these valuation bases has their problems. Let me give you the problems one by one. If you are using net book value, 1, no currency are stated in book value as historical cost, less accurate depreciation. You see, an asset that you bought 5 years ago will not have the same value as when you want to buy the same asset today. So if you are basing your market valuation on the historical cost, your market value will not reflect the current economic reality because the asset you are using to value the company is based on what? The historical cost of that asset. That is one of the problems with net book value. Valuation will not what? Will not reflect the current economic reality of the company. 2 is that when you are using net book value, you don't consider goodwill, especially. Okay? Even when you have goodwill in the statement of financial position place, when you are computing market value based on net book value, you always ignore goodwill. And what's the implication of that? The implication is that the asset, the companies will be what? Will be undervalued because goodwill is part of your intangible assets. So if goodwill is not recognized when you are valuing the company using the net book value of asset, then your market value is going to be affected. The company will be undervalued. These are the problems associated with net book value basis of business valuation. What about the problem associated with market value? Okay. For you to obtain market value of your asset may not be an easy exercise. I have an asset. I want to know how much is it worth in the market. Then for you to get the market of not all assets, but some assets, especially assets that are not common. For you to get the market value of those assets, we involve a considerable amount of energy and time. Now, even sometimes where you have market value may not be reliable. Okay? Sometimes market value may not be reliable because you are not selling. You are just getting the market value. If actually you want to sell it, you might not even be able to sell it at that amount. Okay? It's like when a valuer just come and value your house. You are not selling the house now, so the valuer can say, okay, this house is worth 50 million naira. If you want to sell the asset, the house eventually, you might not sell it for 50 million. So the market value is not reliable. It is when you sell that you can say, yes, this is the sales proceed. But now you are just assuming this is the amount for which I can sell it. That value will not be reliable. Okay. Now, where is it appropriate to use market value as the basis of your valuation. Where is it appropriate? So we have the condition here. When the assets of the company are valuable, when your assets are assets that we can play value on them, then you can use the market value approach. Okay. You can also use market value where you think that if you dispose that asset, the amount you are going to realize will be above the carrying value of that asset. So market value will be appropriate in that situation. That is, if I want to sell, I know that if I want to sell this my phone, the carrying amount is 50,000. But I know that if I want to sell it, I'll be able to sell it for 60,000. So if I want to carry out valuation of my business, I better value the business based on the market value of the assets. Okay. And what? The intention for the company is to be liquidated and the assets sold. These are situations where market value is appropriate. Now, number 3, we have what we call replacement cost. Replacement cost just simply means if you want to buy a similar asset currently to replace that asset, how much will it cost you to buy the asset? This is slightly different from market value. Market value is where you want to sell the asset. Now you want to go and buy a similar asset to replace this asset. That is replacement cost. So you can value your business based on replacement cost. If you know the amount that it will cost you if those assets are to be replaced. Then we have break-up basis. The break-up basis is appropriate for a company that is going into extinction. A company that is to be liquidated is better value using the break-up basis, meaning that we are looking at the amount we can realize from the asset, but not under normal condition, is under liquidation. If someone is in trouble, for instance, the amount the person, not you, the amount the person will sell his asset will be far lower than if the asset is to be sold under normal condition. For instance, let me say I have my children's school fee that I want to pay, and my enemy does not have money. And I don't want my children to be denied access to what? To the school. And that's okay. Maybe I have a phone that I can sell. Let me go and sell this phone. I'm not selling the phone willingly. I'm selling the phone because I am die-hard in need of what? In need of money. If I bring the phone to you, the amount you will price it will be different from the amount you will price it if I want to sell it without any problem. Because you already know that I need money. So a phone that is worth 50,000, you can even price it for 20,000 because you know that person has no alternative. That is the case of breakup basis. That company is going into liquidation. So does he have reason not to sell? Okay, does he have reason not to sell? If you don't sell, what will you do with it? You have seen series of these cases so where someone will be, for instance, you see the cases where this is even common. Someone wants to travel abroad. He has gotten his visa, he has gotten everything, but he has problem of ticket money. And he has a car that is worth 3 million. What will he do? He can sell that car for 1.5 million just because he needs that money at that particular time. That is the case of breakup basis. So if we are selling your asset under breakup or under liquidation, the amount we are going to sell it is not going to be the current market value. No, you can't sell at current market value because people will not buy at that amount. These are the way you can value your business using asset-based approach. Now, situation where net asset approach is suitable, where the business will cease as a going concern. Okay. It is useful in merger and acquisition to value majority stake in the business, where the existing management is to be replaced. For quoted company where the quoted price of the shares is less than the realizable value of the asset. All these are what that they are just theoretical things that you can just go through. No any difficult grammar there that will be difficult for you to interpret. Now, that is that about asset approach. Let us now go to income approach. Sometimes this is also known as market approach. You call it income approach or market approach. This is where you are valuing the company, or let me say the company shares now. You are valuing the company shares based on the income that the share will generate. You are using the income that the share will generate to what? To value the company. And it is also known as what? Market approach, because most of the data you need to carry out valuation under this method are gotten from the market, from the stock market. That is why you can also call it market approach. Under this method, we have what we call the price-earnings ratio, PE ratio. How do we compute our price-earnings ratio? Price-earnings ratio is market price per share over earnings per share. That is the formula for price-earnings ratio. Price-earnings ratio is my market price per share over earnings per share, from the name price to earnings ratio, price to earnings ratio. So I'm looking at the ratio of my market price of shares to the EPS. Now, when you make market price the subject of the formula in the price earnings ratio formula, you will get price earnings ratio times EPS. Price earnings ratio times EPS will give you the market value per share. It's as simple as that. When you multiply price earnings ratio by EPS, you get the market price per share. When you multiply total, let me call it, what do you call it? Profit after tax. You know, EPS is profit after tax per unit of shares. So if instead of EPS, I use profit after tax to multiply price earnings ratio, what comes out is my the total market value of my company's share. That is what will come out because I'm using total profit after tax. Now, the price earnings ratio has a number of weaknesses. What are the weaknesses? One, it is based on subjective opinion on what EPS and what price earnings ratio figure to use. What are we saying here? If I want to value a company using price earnings ratio and the company is not quoted, where will I get the price earnings ratio from? So price earnings ratio is available to a company that is quoted. You can go to the stock market and get the price earnings ratio of my company's share. But where the company is not quoted, where will you get that price earnings ratio? For me to value an unquoted company using price earnings ratio, I must look for a company, a proxy company that is in the same business with that unquoted company and is a listed company. So I will use the price earnings ratio of that quoted company to value the unquoted company. So you can see the problem. It means the price earnings ratio I selected for the unquoted company will be what? Will be an unreliable price earnings ratio because the unquoted company is not the owner of that price earnings ratio. I'm just using to value the company on the basis that they are in the same industry. That is what that quote is talking about. It is based on accounting measure rather than cash flows. How do you compute your EPS? Profit after tax over number of shares. Profit after tax is accounting profit. It's not cash flow. Profit is different from cash flow. So you are computing the market value of your company shares based on accounting profit. And of course, accounting profit can be manipulated by management. Okay? Management can manipulate accounting profit. So if the profit has already been manipulated and use that profit to compute your market price, it means your market price will be highly subjective. What constitutes the earnings of an entity in relation to other is subjective. When I say earnings, the composition of my earnings may vary from the composition of your own earnings. Okay? I can have my earnings from normal activities, other comprehensive income, other income, all those things. That's a part of my earnings, Abi. So the definition of earnings is not specific. The formula does not specify what earnings should we use. Is it earnings from normal business activities or earnings afterwards from other comprehensive income or earnings from profit plus other comprehensive income? So the earnings is not specifically stated. If future earnings is to be used, how will future earnings be accurately forecast? This is another problem. When you are making a valuation, like I've always been telling you, you are using future information, not current and not past. You can only predict the future using the current. You can only predict the future using the current. So if I'm valuing my company, I will have to get future information. So if I'm using earnings, how do I get my future earnings? How do I get my future earnings? So it means I will only have current earnings. So how do I predict what earnings will I have in the future? These are the weaknesses of EP, price earnings ratio. Another one you can use it, earnings yield. What is earnings yield? Earnings yield is earnings per share over current market price per share. Earnings per share over current market price per share is your earnings yield. So when you rearrange the formula for earnings yield, you will get current market price per share is equal to earnings per share over earnings yield. This simply means that you are discounting earnings per share using earnings yield. You are discounting EPS to perpetuity using earnings yield as a cost of your discount rate. That is the meaning. So, apart from earnings yield, you can also use dividend yield. That's another way. All this we are discussing here are under income based or what we call market based. I've given you what? Price earnings ratio, earnings yield, dividend yield. Dividend yield is computed as dividend per share over current market share per share, current market price per share. So when you make current market share per share, when you make current market price per share the subject, you get dividend per share over dividend yield. So it simply means that you are discounting your dividend per share into perpetuity using dividend yield as the discount rate. Okay. The criticism of the dividend yield approach is that difficulty in finding a comparative firm because you cannot get dividend yield from a company that is not quoted. So the best you can do is to get a quoted company and use the dividend yield of the company based on the fact that it is operating in the same industry with the company you are trying to value. Dividend paid may not necessarily relate to earnings. So I may make earnings of 1 million and I'm paying dividend of what? Of 10,000. So there's no correlation. My dividend paid is at my own discretion. It's at my own company discretion. So there's no any law that say, okay, when you make profit, you have to pay so percentage as dividend. No. So that is another problem you face when you are using the dividend yield approach. It is doubtful whether current dividend level is the sole determinant of share price. Now, in actual sense, what determines your share price is not only the dividend you paid. Dividend is only a signaling effect in the sense that the public will have confidence that, oh, some investors prefer company that pays constant amount of dividend every year. It is sure that the company will pay dividend. So investors will be buying the company share because there is expectation of dividend payment. But dividend is not the only factor that will determine your share price. So other factor that will affect your share price is ignored when you are using dividend. Now, unquoted company share are less marketable than quoted company share, and this tends to make them less valuable than an identical share. What I will say, when you have a quoted share, the way the shares of quoted company will sell, the shares of an unquoted company will not sell at the same rate. Therefore, they cannot have identical what? Share price. Because you are using the dividend what? You are using the dividend yield of a quoted company to value an unquoted company. So what are you telling me? You are telling me that the two of them will have a similar market price. That's what I'm saying. But that is not the case. These are the weaknesses of the dividend yield approach. Now we have dividend valuation model. This is another method. This is another method. This is a standalone method as well. Asset-based, income-based, or market-based, then dividend valuation model. We have used dividend valuation model when we were computing cost of equity in our cost of capital computation. And there, I let you know that market value of equity is equal to dividend into bracket 1 plus G over cost of equity minus G. And I told you, it is from dividend valuation model that we get the formula for cost of equity using dividend valuation model. So if I want to compute my company share using dividend valuation model, it means I'm using dividend paid as my what? As my basis of computing market value. So it is given as dividend over cost of equity, but this is where dividend is not growing. Where you are having a constant dividend, you just pick the dividend and divide it by cost of equity, not WACC, please. Dividend goes with cost of equity. Dividend does not go with WACC because WACC comprises of equity and debt, but dividend is only for equity. So whenever you are computing market value using dividend, what you are using to discount the dividend is your cost of equity, not WACC. Take note. Are we together on this platform?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Chiu, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Angela, maybe she has resigned, I don't know. She has not been joining us again. Did you hear from her?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, let us continue. Where your dividend is growing, then you are using growing dividend formula. All these formula, they are what we have already treated. D0, 1 plus G over KE minus G. So where your dividend is growing, this is the formula you are going to use. Remember, I told you D1 I made a decision between D0 and D1. I said D0 is what current dividend. D1 is future dividend. If you are given D0, I want to get D1, what will you do? You multiply by 1 plus G. So you can see that's what I stated there, where D1 is equal to D0 into bracket 1 plus growth rate. So when you do that, you get your market value of the company's share. Now we have other bases, but before we go to other bases, let's treat question on what we have discussed so far. We have cash flow, but that one I'm going to treat it as a standalone topic. That is a free cash flow model. And we're going to discuss economic value added as well. Economic value added and market value added. Then before we go to merger and acquisition. Now, by God's grace, you know, Friday is going to be October 1, right? In addition to our Thursday class, by God's grace, you can see that during the week like this, I'm now struggling to hold class because of responsibility. I just have to excuse myself to hold today's class because I was sure that we're going to start the class at 5:20. Eventually, my MD has to come into the boardroom for the discussion. And that was the reason why I couldn't meet up with that time. So thank God he released me on time. Otherwise, I would just have communicated that we couldn't hold the class today. So that's why now, any slight opportunity, we'll be holding our classes, please. Bear with me. Now, after merger and acquisition, after business evaluation, merger and acquisition, we'll have completed the key areas of the syllabus. After this topic and merger and acquisition, we'll have completed the key areas of the syllabus. They will now go back to other ones, which will form part of your session B and C. And these are what? Portfolio theory, option pricing theory. What again? Hedging. What again? Bond valuation and analysis. All those ones. The one that will take us time there is hedging. And that hedging is what I'm going to discuss with you last. It's what I'm going to do last. After hedging, we'll end the class and you go and write your exam.
So we have barely 1 month.
Yes. 1 month. 1.5 months.
Exam is 2nd week in November. What's the release of
September has not ended now.
It has ended for me.
So it has ended, but October has not started.
27.
I said October has not started.
Yeah, I just want to be sure when you're going to release us to read. It's not 2 weeks.
No. Obviously, we cannot complete this level 2 to the exam. So you have to read along. We are holding this class until the last week of the exam.
Yeah. Fine.
Mrs. Shiwe, did you hear me?
Yes, sir. I heard you, sir.
There's no way we can end this class in the next 4 weeks. Don't let me deceive you. And do you know the reason why we cannot end it within 2 weeks? Except, of course, you know that you make up your mind that you are not going to attempt question on hedging. Yes.
No, sir. Please. This hedging is very, very important. I have never known it.
So, if you want to attempt question on hedging, that hedging alone will take us not less than 2 weeks. In fact, it's supposed to be even 3 weeks.
What do we do now to cover? Because this hedging, I don't know anything about it at all.
That's what I'm saying now. For us to cover, we do lecture until the last week of the exam.
It's fine.
All right. Thank you. So let's look at the comment of this question. So we are holding class on Friday. By God grace.
What time,
What do you
sir?
call it?
Morning.
I will communicate that. It's going to be in the afternoon. It's going to be in the afternoon. Okay. So let us look at the requirement of this question. Required. Estimate the value of the total equity of Congo Limited at 30 June 2015 using each of the following bases. Using each of the following bases. 1, net book value of assets. Can you see that? Net book value of assets. 2, replacement cost of assets. 3, realizable value. 4, the Gordon/dividend growth model. 5, the price earnings ratio approach. And B, explain the limitation of each of the valuation method. I'm not going to touch it because I've already explained the valuation there. If you want to get them, just look at the notes. You get the limitation of each of these approaches there. So let us go and read the question, then we solve. The management of Kampala PSC, a large conglomerate, are considering the acquisition of the entire share capital of Congo Limited, a private company which manufactures a range of engineering machineries. Neither of the company has long-term debt capital. The management of Kampala believe that if Congo Limited is taken over, the business risk of Kampala will not be affected. The accounting reference date for Congo Limited is 30 June. Its statement of financial position as at 30 June 2015 is expected to be as follows. Non-current assets, current asset, which comprises of inventory, trade receivable, bank balance. Then we have our total assets, equity and liability, owner's share capital of $1 each, retained earnings, owner's equity, current liability, we have trade payables and bank overdraft. Then that gave us our total equity and liability. Congo Limited summarized financial record estimated for the 5 years to 30 June 2015 is as follows. So we have from 2011 to 2015. Profit for the year, dividend, retained earnings. The following additional information is available. There has been no change in the issued share capital of Congo Limited during the past 5 years. The estimated value of Congo Limited, no current assets and inventories and work in progress as at 30 June 2015 are replacement cost, realizable value for non-current assets and what? Inventories. So we have replacement cost for non-current assets, realizable value for non-current assets, replacement cost for inventories and work in progress, and realizable value of inventories and work in progress. It is expected that 2% of Congo Limited receivables at 30 June 2015 will be irrecoverable. The cost of capital of Kampala PSC is 9%. The directors of Congo Limited estimated that the shareholders of Congo Limited requires a minimum return of what? 12%. This is your cost of equity. Don't wait until the question tells you cost of equity. This question has told you that this is what? This is return to shareholders. That's the return shareholders need. That's what they require from the company. Okay? From their investment in the company. The current price earnings ratio of Kampala PSC is 12 times. Quoted company with similar activities and profitability have a price earnings ratio of approximately 10 times, although these companies tend to be larger than Congo Limited. So estimate the value of the company's equity of current equity, estimate the value of the total equity of Congo. What are you asked to compute? Total market value of total equity. Market value of equity, not corporate value. Market value of equity. Using each of the following bases. 1, net book value of assets. replacement cost of asset, realizable value, the Gordon/dividend growth model, and the price earnings ratio. Now, let's go. Have we done anything business valuation before? No, Abby? We have not. So let me open a new sheet. Business valuation. Let me increase the font so that we can all see clearly. Is that fine? Oh, you don't mind me. That's the rubbish. Okay, I think it's fine this way. So just for example 1. Example 1. Congo Limited. So,
Hello, sir.
yes,
Sir, will you remember to send the documents for the business investment appraisal?
okay, no, I'll send everything. I'll send everything together. I will send the investment appraisal today.
Okay, sir.
In fact, let me see so that because if I leave it now, if I get to, I will be tired. I might not even open my system when I get to. Maybe I should just even send it right now. 1 minute, please. Let me just see. Investment appraiser. Okay. All right. I think I've sorted myself now, Abby. The international investment, is it part of it, or do you have it as a separate document?
It should be part of it, sir.
Okay. Okay. In case
Thank
it is
you,
not, just
sir.
let me know. I forward it.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So let us continue the class. Okay. A. Computation of market value of Congo Limited equity using 1. Net book value of asset, NBV of assets. So what will I do? I'll just go to my statement of financial position because you can't say I should use net book value. Where will I get my net book value? Net book value is always in the statement of financial position. I'll go there straight. Let's go and sort our net book value. So we have a statement of financial position. So this is the total. Look at it. No current assets, inventories, receivable, and what? Bank balances. You add all this together. Do you have the question with you? I don't want to be going back and forth. Do you have it? No response. So what's our total asset? Total asset, as stated there, My total asset is 7 what? My total asset, this is my total asset. 2070,600. So 2070,600 less total liability. Less total liability. What's our total liability? Come there, scroll down. Where do we have our total liability? Current liability, trade payables and overdraft, which is what? 116,1,500. Pick it. 116,1,500. 116,1,500. So that will give me what? What figure do I have from here? Yes, I'm waiting. Please, 1 minute, let me take water. 1 minute, please. Okay. So what do we have? Oh yeah, now give me figure now.
909,100.
That is your total market value of equity. One zero one
909.
10190.
No, 909,100.
Oh, okay. 909,100. That is the market value of your equity. It's as simple as this. It's as simple as this. It's as simple as this. So, Roman figure 2. Roman figure 2. Using what?
Sorry, sir. So in case it's they're asking for total market value of the company.
Yes, this is it. Just add the asset together.
Just the asset alone, no less than
Asset alone. Yes. You not remove liability. So the second one is what? We are asked to use replacement cost. Replacement cost. Now, our non-current assets has a replacement cost of this, have you? This one has this. So my replacement cost, if I want to do now, this is what I will do. I will come and add this one as replacement cost, so I will not pick it. You not pick this total again because the total will change now. The one that has replacement cost, you will eliminate them. This one, you remove them. So add this one, the one that do not have a replacement cost, add them together. What do we have? 745,000 plus 158,100 will give us what?
$903,100.
903,100. So the one that have replacement cost, you use their replacement cost to replace their statement of financial position value. It now be plus 725 plus 550,000. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So add it together. What do we have?
Plus 725. $2,178,100.
Okay. Replacement cost. Total assets.
178,100.
478.
178,100.
178,100. Mrs. Chu, are you doing it alongside with us?
Sir, what did we add, sir? Sorry.
So can you put the breakdown so that in case
The breakdown, yes, sir.
The breakdown of what?
What we added. I know we added the one we got
Because
902.
are you writing?
Yes, sir.
This is it now. This one,
Okay,
they gave us the
added
replacement cost. We added trade receivable, bank balance,
and the bank balance.
then plus replacement cost for non-current asset, replacement cost for inventories. Non-current assets and inventories, they have replacement cost, Abby. So you will not use their net book value. You go and use their replacement cost instead. Do you understand?
Okay, sir.
I don't want to be going back and forth trying to get details. That's why. And the exam, it is not required. So, total value of equity. Your liability remains the same. There's nothing like replacement cost for liability. You cannot replace your debtors, your creditors. You can't replace your creditors, and even your receivables. Your receivable can only be impaired. You cannot replace your debtors. If someone is owing me, you cannot. If someone is owing you, you cannot come and take me instead to replace the person. The only thing is that the receivable can be impaired. So what do we have as the net?
1,016,600.
1,000,000.
016.
Okay. 016
600.
600. That's the total market value of equity. That's the total market value of equity. Number 3. Using what? Replacement cost, Abby? Sorry. Net realizable value. Using realizable value. Using realizable value.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's assets. What and what did we add? After adding the trade receivable and bank balance, then we use the replacement cost.
Because that's the requirement of the question now. You can't say using the replacement cost.
Okay. We added the non-current asset, Abby.
No, that's the replacement cost of that asset. That's why we did not use the one. You say that's why we did not use this one now. Because this one has replacement cost, we did not use it. This one has replacement cost, that's why we did not use it too.
Okay, yeah, but
instead, we now use the replacement cost. Do you understand?
And the replacement cost is the 725.
Let's now look at it now. Replacement cost. No current assets. Inventory and work in progress. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
After adding it, I did not get that 1.2 million. 1.2 something.
What did you get? What did you get?
I got 1.628 million 100.
Okay, let's go back there. 745,000.
Yes.
Plus 158,100.
Yes. That gave us 903.903.
plus 725,000 plus 725,000.
Yes, sir.
Then plus 550.
Okay.
You didn't add the 550 now.
I did not add the 550.
Why? It means it.
Well,
Look at the inventory. This is the replacement cost.
It's understanding. That is the I'm trying to understand.
He says understanding. That's why I say, you know, when I went up, I said, look at it. I did not use this, I said, because there is replacement cost for it. Inventory, there is replacement cost for it. You understand? So because I did not use this one, I will use their replacement cost to replace them. That's why it is called replacement cost.
Okay, sir.
Instead of using the one I have here, I will replace it with the replacement cost.
Okay, sir.
Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
So that's what we mean by replacement cost. Now, for net realizable value, or the net realizable value, what will be our total asset? Let's go and get our total assets. Okay, let me do the breakdown of this one so that, because that one is, let me do the breakdown of this one, don't worry. So let's get our total assets. We have we are given what I say, realizable value for what? For non-current asset and inventory, Abi? Are we there?
Yes, sir.
450, 570. So you pick it. Non-current assets. $450, Abi? Yeah, 450, 570. 450,000. Then inventories. Inventories is 570,000. These are the assets they give us the replacement cost. Now, don't forget, under the additional information, let's go there. Note 3. It is expected that 2% of Congo Limited receivables at 30 June 2015 will be recoverable. So there is bad debt, meaning that this receivable here, this receivable is impaired by what? By 2%. So we can only realize 98% of it. Can you see that? We can only realize 98% of it. 2% is going to be bad debt. So 745,000, that's our receivable now. Receivable will be 745,000 times 98%. That will give us what? Is 0.9.
730, 100.
713.
730.
Okay, 730. Okay. 730, 100. That's the replacement cost. Or let me say the recoverable amount of that receivable. Then we now have bank balance, Abi. What's our bank balance? Bank balance is 158, 100. 158, 100. 158, 100. 158, 100. So add all this together. That is your total asset. Mrs. Shiwa, are you there? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's any issue, let me know. Total asset will be what?
1,908,200.
1,908,200. 1,908,200. You now deduct your liability. Total liability. Total liability. $1,161,500. 1,161,500. 1,161,500. So, what will be the market value of equity? Total value of equity is what?
7,700.
74,700.
Yes, sir. 746.
746, 700. So that is the market value. Based on, you can see that, based on net book value, this is the market value. They will not give you the same thing. Don't bother. No, it's not possible. Different valuation basis will give you different values. So do not bother about the different results we have. So based on book value, this is the market value. Based on replacement cost, this is market value. Based on realizable value, this is market value. Fine, Abby. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir, please calm down a bit.
Okay, I'm coming. Let me, I want to say it first, please. Sorry. Okay, down where? Yeah, Abby?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
So
sir.
please, you pardon me to close this class here because I'll be having another class by 9. I have to be on my way home.
Are we done for today?
Yeah.
Oh.
We are left with what? We are left with price earning situation and what? Okay. Gordon's/dividend growth model, and this one will take a little time. That's why I don't want to jump into this one. This one will not take time, but this one will take a bit of time. And I want to meet up with the 9 o'clock class. So sorry.
All right, sir.
Miss, are you still writing?
I'm okay.
Any question on this?
No, sir.
So I will see how it goes if we'll be able to hold class on Wednesday. So it means if Wednesday class will be feasible, it means we are going to hold 3 more classes this week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, by God's grace. So let's see how it goes. We communicate. I pray we'll be able, if we're able to get those 3 classes this week, we should go far in business evaluation and even start merger and acquisition so that we can have enough time for the remaining topics. So thank you.
All right, sir. Try and communicate us early on Wednesday.
No problem. I will.